You know what's pretty strange is that today I just uploaded a bunch of videos. I uploaded 4 videos to YouTube. And these 3 videos right here I've had on TikTok for a few days and such. But this big long one here, I actually started back in October and I finally just randomly finished it and decided to upload it. And notice the big thing about this video is all about the number 324. And another big theme that I'm talking about with this number 324 that just keeps showing up all over the place, it all connects back to the 2019 Tisha B'Av stuff that the Gematria community was paying attention to. August 11th, 2019. You can even see I wrote in here, 2019 Tisha B'Av. And, I go on to point out how, like, there was a connection to the Alcatraz, Donald Trump wanted to reopen Kentucky Alcatraz, Derby, and that actually opened on August 11th. Just so happened to, what is it? It opened on August 11th, which August 11th was the big day in 2019 where everybody was following with Tisha B'Av, right? So I'm even just pointing out, like, a lot of the 324 in this video had to do with August 11th, 2019, which was Tisha B'Av, which much of the Gematria Truth community was paying attention to and following. And what's interesting is that after I uploaded this video, the 2 big stories in the news are that 2 National Guardsmen were shot in Washington, D.C., and the other one just so happens to be a big fire in Hong Kong. And if you go back to 2019 Tisha B'Av on August 11th, the big news, nothing really that big happened that day, but one of the big news stories was the Hong Kong riots in China. So now we're getting this story, about Hong Kong and a fire. And the other story in this news today is the National Guardsmen story. And that's interesting because Donald Trump actually sent the National Guard to Washington, D.C. on August 11th this year, August 11th. And, think about sending troops and so on. Or, look at this other story. Look at the picture I have from my old blog post. It's about Trump claiming China is moving troops to the Hong Kong border. Further, they're saying that they think the shooter is this guy. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name here, but his name equals 324 in the composite cipher. Another cipher and composite numbers I've been saying we are supposed to be paying attention to, and this guy's name equals 324 in that. And the way CNN even puts it, National Guardsmen, that also equals 324 in the composite cipher. And also what's interesting is that if you go from Tisha B'Av this year, which was August 2nd, and you go to today, it's 3 months and 24 days. This number, 324. What else is interesting is that Tisha B'Av, August 2nd this year, just so happened to be J.D. Vance's birthday. And it's also just so happens to be the mayor of Washington, D.C.'s birthday. So the mayor of Washington, D.C. was born on Tisha B'Av this year, or her birthday was, and J.D. Vance's birthday was on that day. And J.D. Vance equals 257, which is the 257th composite is 324. Further, if you go from August 11th to today, it's a span of 3 months and 16 days. And once again, I have multiple videos on this number 316 in relation to Donald Trump and the assassination attempt of Donald Trump and all kinds of stuff, Joe Biden even dropped out of the election 3 months and 16 days before the election, and Donald Trump's name in the capital letter ciphers equals 316. J.D. Vance's birthday is 316 days before Donald Trump's birthday, which means that Tisha B'Av fell 316 days before Donald Trump's birthday this year. You can come watch this video. I'm trying to make this video short, but these 2 videos I talk all about the number 316 and how it relates to Donald Trump. And, it also is connected to that Tisha B'Av narrative with 2019. But another interesting thing with the date August 11th, 2019, it had a lot to do with Donald Trump touching the Western Wall when he first became the president. He touched the Western Wall on May 22nd, 2017, which just so happened to be 811 days before August 11th, 2019. And if you go back in time 424 days, before August 11th, 2019, it takes you to Donald Trump's birthday. And if you went 424 days forward, it took you to Vladimir Putin's birthday. And that's interesting because Donald Trump, when he touched the Western Wall, he touched it at 4:24 p.m. And if you write his name out in all capital letters, think about the capital insurrection, it equals 424. And even more interesting is that I've been saying forever that 2019 Tisha B'Av was a guiding point telling us in the community that we need to pay attention to the capital letter ciphers. So what are the odds Donald Trump's name would equal 424 in the capital letter ciphers linked up to this Tisha B'Av narrative that was 424 days after Donald Trump's birthday and 424 days before Vladimir Putin's birthday. And then Trump touches the Western Wall at 424. And there's also this old interview or hidden video or camera thing where these two Jewish rabbis from Ukraine were telling Donald Trump that if his name in gematria equals 424, so in the Hebrew letters, Donald Trump's name equals 424, and they were saying he was like the Messiah of Ukraine because some form of the Messiah in Hebrew also equaled 424. And of course, later, that one guy, Lev Parnes, who was one of the rabbis who said that, he ended up going to jail 4 months and 24 days after his birthday. And then, Donald Trump's wife ended up going on to die 4 months and 24 days after her birthday. And a whole bunch of stuff. But in relation to Donald Trump touching the Western Wall, it stands out because think about Israel in relation to Tisha B'Av. The Tisha B'Av is about the destruction of the two temples in history. And Donald Trump was once on a coin in Israel when he was the president, and he was on a coin with King Cyrus. And King Cyrus has a lot to do with bringing the building of the second temple in Jerusalem, which goes back to the 2019 stuff I was talking about in that previous video, because the Kentucky Derby had everything to do with the ruler Titus, who destroyed the second temple in Israel. So Donald Trump's on a coin with King Cyrus, who is important to why the second temple was even built. And, Donald Trump made Jerusalem the capital of Israel and a whole bunch of stuff. But the war in Israel with Hamas, it actually began on Vladimir Putin's birthday, right? And believe it or not, the 666th day of that war was on Tisha B'Av, August 2nd this year. So there's a definite connection to this Tisha B'Av narrative that I'm following, and you can see it even with these news stories. I uploaded this video this morning, and then now there's these two news stories connected back to August 11th, the Tisha B'Av date, and they're also connected to the number 324. And even funnier is on this other video that I uploaded about UFC 322 and the big 9/11 symbolism, and think about 9/11 and the two towers. Think about Tisha B'Av, that is the remembrance day of the destruction of the two temples that both fell on the 9th day of the 11th month on the Hebrew civil calendar. When I uploaded the UFC video, they actually restricted the video, but they only restricted it in Russia. And the part that they restricted it over was the part where I was talking about WWE wrestling and how they had the Twin Towers versus the Mega Powers. And then I went on to talk about how Hulk Hogan is synced up to the narrative with Tisha B'Av because Hulk Hogan's birthday is August 11th and a whole bunch of other things, but Hulk Hogan's birthday is August 11th. And what are the odds they would restrict only that part in Russia, of all places? They didn't restrict it anywhere else, just Russia. It's pretty strange. So I'm supposed to see something with Russia and Ukraine, it seems. And it's interesting, too, in relation to that, as for years I've talked about this boxing narrative that goes along with the war in Ukraine and Donald Trump and, right here. I have a bunch of videos where I'm talking about this, and it all goes back to Rocky, and Rocky was important to Thanksgiving. So I just find it funny that tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and then we got Russia and Ukraine kind of were in the headline stories yesterday and so on. So, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, see what happens, but there's so much to re-explain with all these videos. They take so long. But if you just go back and I know they're really long videos, but if you go back and even just watch videos, even starting from, I don't even know. You could probably start from the Donald Trump assassination video, and I think you'll start getting the gist of what I am saying. Hey everyone, let's go. But I don't know. There's something to it. I don't know how to piece it all together, but very odd that we get a news stories today connected to that Tisha Bob thing. So I'll just leave it there. I don't know. I haven't seen the names of these people or whatever else, but there might be more to it that I haven't seen yet because there's not even details. But I'll just quit rambling. Have a good one. Peace.